What does it mean to be the forgotten one or an invisible one?
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Thank you so
everyone.
much for being here and coming to this workshop. We are so happy to have you here. And my name is Meena Natarajan. I'm one of the co-artistic directors and the executive director of Pangea. And that is Andrea Asaf. And Andrea Asaf is the artistic director of Art to Action. And before we begin, we would like to do land acknowledgements. And just want to say that Pangea World Theatre gratefully acknowledges that we're on Dakota land and we live in
Hello, everyone. I'm not sure if Mina's having a little internet trouble. I want to support the land acknowledgement on behalf of Art to Action. We are based in Tampa, Florida, and that we are on the land of the Seminole people in Tampa, and we would like to pay respects to Indigenous peoples past, present, and future as we grow in our work of decolonization and build relationships at the speed of trust to endeavor to move from acknowledgement to action. Back to you, Meena.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining us for this really special masterclass with Diane Roberts. And I have to mention, as you know, Minneapolis is in a state of great turmoil this week. Dante Wright was killed on Sunday. And so it really has been a very, very difficult week for us. And really trying to figure out how to create healing and justice-related actions, and this is one of them. So really, welcome to a really healing masterclass that is going to lead us in the direction of our own healing as people of color. And Diane Roberts was part of the National Institute of Directing and Ensemble Creation in 2019. And this institute is co-facilitated and co-organized by Art to Action and Pangea World Theatre. It is a very special institute that really brings people of color and women directed, foregrounds people of color and women directors and their practices, and invites multiple aesthetics to the table, invites multiple peoples to the table, and really it is really diverse and intersectional. And we've conducted institutes. We began the National Institute for Directing in 2012. Our first pilot institute was at that time. And then we continued to do institutes in 2015, 2017, 2018, and 2019 in Minneapolis. We've done peer exchanges where we've exchanged methodologies. And we've also created gatherings of Indigenous and First Nations people for almost that time. For 2015 was our first Indigenous gathering. And then we continued to have a pre-conference with Indigenous folks so that we really, we figure out what it is about that community needs. And also we can have you.
While Mina is coming back on, we are very, very excited to be having this incredible opportunity to have this workshop with Diane Roberts today. And I know that Mina and Dipankar are going to introduce her and the co-facilitator Lopa. Mina?
Wonderful. So just to come, thank you. I'm having a little spotty internet, and thank you for doing that, Andrea. In 2020, we began our virtual series because of COVID, of course. And so we've been doing this throughout 2020 and 2021. And so now we're offering masterclasses and conversations on directing with Institute artists. And I would also like to acknowledge that we're recording and live streaming on HowlRound and Facebook. So take a note of that. And so if you don't want to be on Facebook, please put yourself put your camera off. And thank you all for being here. This is going to be such an exciting time for both those who are on Zoom and those who are live and watching this. Thank you. And Dipankar, I welcome you to introduce Diane and Lopa.
Yes, thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Mina. And on behalf of Art to Action and Pangea World Theatre, I would like to welcome Diane Roberts and Lopa Sarkar. Their exhaustive bio, their years of work, you can read, and it's on the chat also and on the website. But I would like to share with you my personal, where I met Diane. It was in Vancouver, where I first met Diane in a workshop called Primary Colors, which was a room of powerful, progressive, strong artists. And Diane's workshop was sheer and just thoroughly the whole, it was almost like a journey. The workshop was, you open the door and you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into authenticity and powerful craft. And I would like to invite Diane, and please look at her bio, which is there. And then after that, we invited Diane to our National Institute of Directing and Ensemble Creation, where Diane came, and in the very beginning, here's Diane sitting on a chair. And then by the time the introduction is over, Diane gets up and starts walking around the whole room. We had a room of over 60 people, and how she slowly lit embers, and embers became glows. And then ultimately, the way the workshop moved, the whole room was really fire, singing, moving, dancing, and all rooted in both personal and sharing. And I see that's how I met Diane. And I wanted to also invite Lopa Sarkar, who's going to lead us through vocal work and also aid in facilitation and support Diane.
Let's go to Diane now. Thank you for that welcome, Dipankar. And please welcome everyone, Diane Roberts. We'll be starting in just a moment.
Sorry, I didn't realize I had to turn everything on. Hello, everyone, and hello. Thank you so much, Andrea, Mina, Dipankar, for inviting us to do this workshop. In a less than ideal environment, I love to be able to see everyone and to be in the same room with everyone. But this is where we're at, and I think that this adaptation has brought many lessons, I know, for myself. I'm really, really, really pleased to be here, and really pleased that one of my partners in the work, Lopa Surkar, is here to co-facilitate with me. Lopa and I have been working together for, I think right near the beginning of the process, when it started about 18 years ago. Yes, welcome Lopa, and welcome everybody. So excited to see you all when I get to see you all. Right now I can see me and I can see Lopa. So what I'd like to do is in this workshop, what we'll do is we're going to do touch on different aspects of the Arrivals Legacy Project. Normally the workshop that you would take would be about 40 to 50 hours over the course of about 5 days. And we would be working together to explore our ancestor, a particular ancestor, through the process. And we use this idea of exploring one ancestor as a way of, as a gateway to understanding our relationship to our ancestors. So what I'm going to invite you to do right now, just to take a minute for yourselves, is to just think of an ancestor. Think of an ancestor 2 or 3 generations away. And somebody may have already popped into your mind or your heart. Go with that. You don't need to know a ton about this person, just somebody that you had a curiosity about. It may have been a picture that you picked up, or a letter, or somebody in your family may have said, oh, you remind me of. So just let that sort of settle into you right now. And remember that choosing an ancestor isn't establishing a relationship with one ancestor forever and ever and ever. This is just to give you an idea or a taste or a little feeling of what it might be to consider one particular ancestor that's maybe 2 or 3 generations away. So just give yourself a moment in breath to let that person just come up in your imagination, in your heart. It may also be, if you don't have a name, don't let that stress you out. Don't let any of this stress you out. Think of the woman that was in that picture with the red dress holding the teacup. And now I'm going to invite you just, I'm working from the territory of the Kanien'kehá:ka peoples, who have been the caretakers of this land for over a millennia. I'm in Jojoke, which is the Kanien'kehá:ka name for Montreal. I also want to acknowledge the Abenaki, the Wendat, the Algonquin, and the Inuit and Métis peoples who also have traveled and moved through this territory. Now, as I'm doing this acknowledgement and remembering, I have my feet placed flat on the floor, just as I'm sitting in my chair. I have my feet placed flat on the floor, and I'm breathing. And I'm considering the land and the territory that I am on and that I make relationships on. And I'm imagining there are little mouths on the bottoms of my feet. And if you can imagine the little mouths on the bottom of your feet, breathing the earth below. And as you feel your feet on your floorboards, and imagining what's below the floorboards and below this, I'm on the 2nd floor, below that apartment that's empty right now, that's an Airbnb, and below those floorboards and into the earth. I'm imagining that these little mouths are breathing. I'm also imagining that there are mouths in the footprint that I'm leaving on the floor. And these little mouths are facing upwards in the footprint, meeting the little mouths on the bottoms of my feet. Ooh, now they start to feel a little tingly as the lips touch the lips. And just let your feet just massage the floor and let those little mouths touch and kiss each other. I'm also thinking in my acknowledgement and memory of the land, I'm thinking about the peoples who have traveled here. In my ancestry, I'm thinking about the people who were traveling here against their will and were forced in a displaced way to reestablish their sense of home. So in relationship or outside of relationship with the indigenous peoples of this land, but definitely with the territory. And as I just shift yourself to the front of your chair so that you're ready to stand up and sit down, because we're going to do that a little bit here. And so I'm going to stand up and I'm going to feel those little mouths hold me on the bottoms of my feet, hold me, and feel the little mouths facing up. Still that sense of the earth kissing the ground. I'm going to put my hands like this in an open kind of thing. And then we're going to sit down again. And I'm going to put my hands down on my thighs like this. And we'll stand up again. And then we'll do that again. Put our hands on our thighs. I'm just going to slap my thighs and tap my feet on the earth. I'm going to let it grow. I'm going to let it die. I'm going to raise my face to the sky. So I'm going through the ceiling, up through the apartment above me, through the roof, and imagine the sky. And while I'm doing this, I'm also imagining that my throat is being exposed to the village circle. So even though we're in our little boxes, we still
Diane, would you kindly unmute yourself? Someone came in with their sound on, so I've muted everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay, that now we'll return our eyes to the circle. One person will step into the middle of the circle and offer a gesture. We slap our thighs, we stamp our feet, we let it grow, we let it die. We start from the top. We stand up with hands open. We sit down with hands closed. We stand up with hands open. We sit down with hands closed. We slap our thighs. We stamp our feet. We let it grow. We let it die. We raise our faces to the ceiling, exposing our throats to the village. And breathing from the bottoms of our feet, from the mouths and the bottoms of our feet, we let out a sound, a song maybe. Oh, below, oh, below. We return our eyes to the circle. And you are welcome at this point to open your cameras. I encourage you to open your cameras if you feel so inclined, so we can see the village. One person steps into the middle of the circle and offers a gesture. Aha, nice. Lovely. We slap our thighs, we stamp our feet, we let it grow, we let it die. And if standing and sitting up is more challenging for you, make a modification. Maybe it's this and this. Slap the steps. Step the feet. Let it grow. Exposing our throats to the circle. Lifting our eyes to the sky, opening our channel of breath from the feet through the tube, a song or a sound, oh, below, oh, below. Returning our eyes to the village. Oh, so lovely to see you. Gita and Julia, Kiki, Alejandra, Verlia, V.A., Mina. One person steps into the middle of the circle and offers a gesture. Thank you. We receive it, slapping our thighs, stamping our feet, letting it grow, and letting it die and fall away. This is what I might call the arrival, or one arrival in the arrivals process. And we're going to come back to this exercise at the end of the workshop and just see where the meaning takes us. But it was an exercise that I would say wrote me. It came to me and I started just writing these words down. And it's an exercise that came as a way of exploring the relationship between simple gesture. I gave you just simple gestures, into the idea of ritual or ceremony and how easy it is for us to fall into that process. It's almost as if it's a calling, that there's a calling that we have within us to make ceremony, to make ritual. And then that ritual turns into story and can turn into memory. And we'll see how that might happen later in the workshop. So the first part, I'd like to just talk a little bit about the arrivals process, and also within the context of this grieving, this collective grieving that we are forced into, not only the pandemic itself, but the pandemic of racism and continued violence against Indigenous, Black, and racialized peoples. And so the year is 2016. Over the last few weeks, I've been struggling to articulate an appropriate response to the unrelenting violence in thought, word, and deed directed towards us as African peoples, African descended peoples. As I view the videos online and listen to the reports of yet another impossible to understand attack, I feel my body absorb the anger, the fear, the frustration, and the rage of my brothers and sisters south of the border. I am haunted by Deanna Reynolds, the 4-year-old who was forced to comfort her mother in the backseat of a police car after witnessing the senseless death of her mother's fiance, Philando Castile. Her sweet voice, surreal amidst the terror, reminding her mother that she's there with her and that everything's going to be okay. In one simple, instinctual gesture, she echoed a grandmother's love for a disquieted child, and I too want to believe that everything's going to be okay. The year is 2020. I am bolstered by the strong voice of protest reverberating through the grassroots movements such as Black Lives Matter and Wet'suwet'en Strong, and I see and feel the need to stand up and scream, no more. I'm still churning the mixed feelings that arose as I moved along with the Montreal crowd in protest. While trying to maintain social distance, I stand, watch, and listen to impassioned speeches by Black, Indigenous, and other POCs, alongside white allies who joined in the chants for justice. There were moments when I felt compelled to stop my voice, to listen deeper. I struggled to hear the meaning inside the chants, Black Lives Matter, no justice, no peace, which were to my ear transforming themselves into meaningless sound bites. Like an actor studying for a role, I caught myself dropping into the cadence. In those moments of pause, I felt called to really consider the words I was chanting, Black lives matter. The year is 2021. In this necessary pause from all that we in North America know as freedom, I recognize a deeper wound that cannot be addressed through protest alone. I observe the gestures of protest, fists raised high, and I can't help but notice exposed side ribs, hearts, and guts. I hear the strained voice of Naisa Wright expressing her very public grief, horrified at the senseless death of her nephew murdered by the hands of incompetent justice. I hear the voices of outrage in a crowd say his name, pushing to express in the limited time given a manifesto justifying our right to survive. In times like these, I lament the loss of our stories, our rituals and ceremonies, and I wonder what we need to reclaim to ground ourselves in our inherited truth and power. In the words of Sylvia Wynter, a ceremony must be found. Oh, below, oh, below, oh, below, 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 hello, boo, hello, oh, below, 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 hello, boo, hello. There is no bypassing loss of language, culture, dance, songs, history, memory, home. For those who remain, there is a continual longing for a forgotten past. For those who leave, there exists a sometimes unspoken longing to return. Founded in 2003 as a creative engagement tool for displaced Indigenous and migrant artists and communities, the Arrivals Legacy Project was designed to unearth embodied root cultural practices and authentic creative impulses through ancestral connections. The strength of the Arrivals process lies in its application as a story generating and community development tool to ignite, negotiate, and reconcile diverse perspectives. It has proven itself to be a powerful initiator and developer of collaborative artistic creations that address transdisciplinary, intergenerational, and cross-cultural concerns. So this song is a song that was sourced, I guess, through the Arrivals process. And it's, I discovered, I guess it was in 2009, my relationship to my own ancestry, which is the Garifuna peoples, who right now are being displaced once again. They're in St. Vincent, where the Soufriere is very active and in and around their communities. So the Garifuna peoples have a song tradition where you source a song is given to you, and then you understand the song's meaning through practice. And this song arrived in a workshop that Lopa and I did recently here in Montreal, in Jajouké. So I'd like to teach it to you. The words are, let me put the words into the chat. Obi, lo. A, lo. Obu. A, oh. Oh, below, 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 below. Elo, bu, elo. Oh, below, 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 below. Elo, bu, elo. Oh, below, this is the call. Below, 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 below. Elo, bu, elo. That's the response. Oh, below, 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 below. Elo, bu, elo. How's everybody doing? Do you want to try turning on your mics and let's see the chaos that might ensue if we try it together? So the idea is that the call happens and then the response happens. So if you're singing the call, you needn't sing the response. So you can choose which part of the song you want to sing. Oh, below, 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 below. Elo, elo. Oh, below, 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 below. Elo, elo. Oh, below, 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 below. Elo, elo. Beautiful. Oh, below, below,
Below, below, below, below, below.
Hello,
Hello, hello.
oh, below, below,
Below, below, below, below. Hello, hello.
oh, below,
Oh, below,
Below, below, below, below, below. Hello, hello, hello.
Below, below,
Below, below, below, below, below. Hello, hello.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The beautiful thing about this song, and I love working with it, especially in digital space, is that it can cycle at any point. Like you can start Obilo anytime in the Obilo part and anytime during the response. So you're hearing the other people, you're hearing something that you're responding to. Or you might be responding and all of a sudden you hear and you want to stop and you want to respond over there. So I want to see if we can play with that a little bit. So let's say we've got our village ritual, we have our Obilo, and now let's move into a full body exploration of this vessel. So at the beginning of the workshop, I talked about an ancestor. I invited you to invite an ancestor. What we're going to do is we're going to prepare the vessel within which this ancestor that you've chosen may find a moment to land in. Does that make any sense? So we're going to prepare your vessel. So what I'm going to ask you to do, and you're welcome to keep your cameras on, or to keep your cameras on, or to take your cameras off. But I'm going to move now into my space so that you can see me and you can use me as a reference, but don't feel that you have to keep your eyes on me because you can hear the instructions in your voice, and this is going to be your own exploration. So I'm going to ask you to come to your feet, find a space in your space that you have some space to move. And the first part, before we go into a freer movement, I wanted to introduce you to a methodology that I learned through Zab Magungu, who is a choreographer, dancer and philosopher based here in Montreal. And she has a training process called Ripada, which is about rhythm, posture, dance, and alignment. And there's a methodology that has become a grounding tool in the arrivals process. And you'll hear me make this call locato quite often as we're doing, yes, big up to Nyata Nyata and Pifabda. Hello, Nadine. Locato. You'll hear me calling locato quite a bit. So let's just find this locato. So if you engage the little mouths on the bottoms of your feet and just move your feet around on the floor, and you can just give yourself a little bounce. Yeah, a little bounce. And you might, what I'm doing with my feet is I'm just lifting my toes and tapping down. So my heels are nicely planted on the floor and I'm just tap, tap as I'm bouncing. And every time I put my foot down, the front part of my foot down, tap, 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 I'm engaging the little mouths on the bottoms of my feet. There's a lover relationship between the earth and your feet. And let's engage this lover relationship. So a slight little bounce. And what we want to do is we want to find, in the locato, there are 3 different rhythmic positions and different kinds of alignment, and also different ways of experiencing your weight. So in the low, if you just bend your knees slightly and drop your weight into the bottoms of your feet and just feel your feet in deep contact with the earth, holding your body up. It's just a slight bend in your knee. That's a low. And the K is the activation through your knees. So you're bouncing up from that low place. Yeah. So you may find that this bouncing is a little bit different than when you were bouncing before, when you're bouncing up instead of bouncing down. And then the toe is actually what happens naturally in our hips. When we arrive up into a standing from a slightly bent, our hips just kind of realign themselves. So you get the low K toe, low K toe, low K toe. And I always think of the low as, I think of basketball players. You know, when they're sort of preparing their layups, they're kind of bouncing a little bit and then they've got the momentum to, yeah, exactly. So Kayla, if you could start the music, we'll start our movement. So what I'm gonna ask you to do is just move around the space. Can you still hear me? Yes? Great. Yeah, so just move around the space, feeling this relationship between this loving relationship between your feet and the earth. And I find when I do it now in digital space, when we're in space, we're moving all throughout the room, but it's just as effective as I move back and forth on the running because the process of movement is our relationship to the stepping, either in place or slightly forward and back. My focus is on this lover relationship between my feet and the earth below. So we're going to do a little inventory of our body. Right now, look, our attention on our feet. And we want to bring our attention to our ankles. And let us be a curious attention. How does this work? How does this body, this vessel, move through space? We often move in one sort of solid way, not thinking about all these different processes that happen in our body make us walk. Yeah. So carry your weight. That says when you carry your weight, you carry your potential. Yeah, have fun with it. If you play with the insides of your feet, the outsides of your feet, see how you can articulate your ankle in different ways. Shins and calves, so below the knees. Let this be an experiment for you. A way to wake up the bones, to shake the bones. Knees. There's an interesting relationship between the ankles and the knees. You always put, or I tend to put a lot of pressure on my knees until I remember that the ankle is there to help. Yeah, and just keep coming back to this loving relationship between your feet and the earth below, thighs, engaging your thighs. We're going a little bit faster than we normally would, but the inner thigh, the backs of your thighs. Let this be an exploration of what is this thigh you call a thigh. How does this lower leg work together? Engaging your movement. And don't forget that you divide it down the middle, left and right. Don't forget the movement this way, back and forth, as well as side to side. And see if you can move the right and the left separately. So it's almost like a call and response. And I see dances where this relationship between right and left is in this call and response relationship. Keep going. Yeah. All the different possibilities of hip, ankles,
this is brother
knees,
Fela
sides, feet.
This is one time I would like to say a few things. Men are born.
What we're doing here
Things are made.
is shaking up the bones.
Trees are sung.
We're shaking up
Walls.
where memory lives.
Every
Memories
country
live in our
has its own
joints,
problems. So
in our
has
bones
Africa.
and the ligament.
So has Africa. Let us
This
bind
isn't
our wounds
just about
and live
the
together
joy of
in
movement.
peace.
It's very much that. But it's
Nigeria,
also about
one
this
nation,
searching,
indivisible.
this
Long
investigation
live Nigeria,
as to
viva
what it is
Africa.
that this body of mine holds. What are the memories?
The
Whose
history
memory?
of mankind is full of obvious turning points and significant events.
Moving now, we're in the
From tongue and
sacrum.
tribe
Has the little
differ,
triangular bone
we are
at the
all
bottom
Nigerians.
of your
We
spine.
are all Africans.
How does it say?
War is
Your
not the
tail
answer.
needs to be.
It has never been the answer.
So
And
why
it
it?
will never be the answer
That's
to
your
fight
sacrum.
amongst each other. Let's live together in peace. Nigeria,
thighs,
one nation,
Just for the
indivisible.
pelvis, the thighs
Long
meet the
live
pelvis.
Nigeria. Viva Africa.
They always talk about the pelvis as a bowl. So imagine that.
Let's eat together
How
like
does
we
this
used
bowl
to eat.
move?
Let's plan together like we used to plan.
And what memories might be locked
Sing
there?
together.
So as you're
Like we
investigating,
used to sing.
as you're moving,
Dance
you're
together
asking these
like
questions
we used to dance.
and putting breath in
United,
places
we
of your
stand.
body.
Divided, we fall. You know what I mean. I hope you did.
And let your body take you where it wants to go.
Let us bind our wounds and live together in
Even if it
peace.
seems weird and you've never done this before, this kind
Nigeria,
of movement
one
in your
nation,
body.
indivisible. Long live Nigeria. Viva Africa.
We're letting our minds go. We're letting our body's mind
Brothers and
activate
sisters
itself.
in Africa, never should we learn
its
to wage war
curiosities.
against each other. Let Nigeria be a lesson to all.
Nice. Okay, so we're
We
moving
have
up our
more to
spine.
learn towards
Vertebrae
building
by
and
vertebrae.
destroying.
And the vertebrae each have
People
a
can't
little bit
afford
of cushioning
any
in
more
between each
suffering.
vertebrae so that
Let's
the
join
spine can move
Africa.
in an
We have
undulating
nothing to
way,
lose.
but there's also a little rotation
War is not
that
the
can
answer.
happen that allows you
War
to
has never been
rotate
the answer.
and
And it will
twist
never
to
be
the
the
twist.
answer. Fighting amongst each other.
I love
One
that.
nation indivisible. Long live Nigeria. Viva Africa.
Keep going. Okay, we're moving up through our spine. And we're starting to meet the ribs. So there's a lower floating rib. That's your ribs. Okay, now it's getting yeah. And the question is, where do these memories live in me? These those spaces, with curiosity and generosity and love. When we were preparing the vessel for the potential meeting with the center. Yeah, shake bones. Be brave, be silly, be indulgent. Moving all the way up our ribs. Turning to our chest, our thoracic spine, which also feels a bit like a monolithic thing that protects the world. But there's movement here. See if you can find that movement in between your shoulder blades. Shoulder blades are where our wings. You can find a little bit of mobility in there. Yeah. Right between your front nose, I guess it is. A little bit stretching. There's the sternum. Yeah. If you put your finger there, not too hard, the sternum, you may find that there's a bit of pain there. Don't go too hard. Enough to see if you can feel this. Very, very painful for me anyway. It's a place where we store a lot of the tensions that we have to deal with. So we just want to breathe into that finger. Yeah. Moving it down a bit from the big, large movement. Just this gentle attention. But keep your relationship, that love and relationship in the earth and your feet. Yeah. We're going to be moving up, shoulders, top of shoulders, and your arms, elbows, wrists, armpits. Yeah. Move the body part that you haven't moved yet. Is that it for the song? Kayla, if it is, can you play it again? Yeah. Nice, thank you. Lovely. So neck and head. And we're activating the whole body. See curiosity about where these memories live. And let's eye contact. Whole body. Nice. So if there's a way that you haven't yet moved in space, try it now. A body part, a relationship, my knee and my hip. The opposing forces, up and down. So you go up and down, go down, and up. Right and left. You're stretching your left arm and right. Diagonal to the body. Yeah, this is waking up the memory vessel, fingers. And we're almost there. So get it out of your system. Anything that you think you need to do. We feel that we can just fade the music out. Keep yourself active. Don't stop, and Local will give you the next set of instructions as you continue to explore this vessel opening.
Hi, everyone. I invite you to keep feeling the sensation of this vessel opening. Come back to the idea, feeling of those lips in your feet, kissing the floor below, that relationship, that lover relationship, and the feeling of your bones that are moving your body. Sense that sensation. You can keep moving how you like. With your eyes closed, feel how those bones have a vibration. They have a vibration of movement, and they have a vibration of breath. Feel your breath encountering your bones as you move. Encountering your bones as you move. Come back to your feet and send your closed eyes up towards the heavens. Feel your throat exposed. Feel your feet on the ground. Bring your closed eyes back. Feel your feet on the ground. And breathe into this relationship. Feet, eyes closed, vibration in the bones. And this time, as you float your closed eyes up towards the sky, towards the future and the past, allow yourself, invite yourself to translate those vibrations in your bones into vibrations of sound. Ha. It doesn't matter the tone, it doesn't matter the quality. Feel your bones vibrate with your sound. Notice how it feels to allow your breath back in, to breathe in the space, to breathe in the sound, and come to a place where you may be more still in your physical body, but where you can feel that vibration of the movement that we've been doing. And allow yourself to explore and release that vibration through your lips, vibrating your bones and remembering your ancestor that you have floating somewhere in your consciousness, floating somewhere in your space, floating somewhere around you. And even in the stillness, you might allow yourself to breathe her, him, they in and release your relationship to them out. Allowing your breath to come in and vibrating out the sound that lives within you. You might reach up with one hand and you might feel somewhere in your space your ancestor, and you might maybe pluck that ancestor from the space, hold her, him, they in your fingertips. Consider where they are from, how their culture is, and where you are from, how your culture is. Hold them between your fingers with love, and then place them somewhere, releasing sound as you go, somewhere on your body that feels like it's their place. And allow yourself to vibrate that sound. Gently open your eyes and see your space, the space that you're in. Notice what you see. And allow your breath to come in, breathing what you see in. Pick one thing. Breathe it in and send your breath out to it. Vibrating your bones and vibrating it. Look to another thing in the room, whatever catches your attention. Breathe to it and breathe out your sound to it. Keep that feeling, that relationship of breath, of sound, the possibility that your movement has a vibration and that vibration lives in the bones. And I'm going to pass it back to Diane.
Kayla, if you could take us into the second set of music. And as you're here, close your eyes again. And whisper your ancestor's name or a description. Woman with the red hair, men with the black shoes. Kayla, can you bring the music down just a little, please? Thank you. And just allow yourself to play, to feel your feet. Come back if you get lost. Feel your feet. The lover relationship between your feet and the earth below. And this awakened body vessel made up of many parts that are alive and speaking. And your breath and voice vibrating in your bones. Whisper your ancestor's name. Just allow your body to find its own movement in the space. Before we were pushing movement out of our bodies to explore the possibilities of movement in our bodies. And now as we've come down into a quieter internal space, we're letting our body take us on a journey. So it's as if the next move that you make isn't deliberate or extraneous, but it's necessary. And as you think about your ancestor, Allow this breath and space to open up your body, your vessel, into the possibilities of making shape in space. You may find gestures arise that may not at first make sense, which is a good thing. Just let your body lead you into the next shape, possibility. As you think about your ancestor and all you might know, all you need to know, all the curiosities. Thinking of them in the environment that they may have lived in. But don't stress about the details. Just let your imagination and your body flow like water. And as you think about your ancestor, just put into your body's mind's network this idea of joy. What is joy? And you may ask your ancestor, what is joy? And see what your body manifests. See what comes. And a gesture that feels satisfying may appear. Stick with that gesture. And explore the beginning, middle, and end of that gesture. Joy. Joy. Breath flowing. Your relationship, the loving relationship between your feet and the earth below alive. That is joy. Travel in the discovery of this beginning, middle, and end gesture of joy. Once you've found this gesture, just put it aside for a second. Keep it in your body's memory. And I'd like you to just source one more gesture. And we're looking for a gesture of ceremony. Whispering your ancestor's name, yourself, and the ceremony. Again, it doesn't necessarily need to make sense. Let your body speak ceremony. What is ceremony? Maybe something has arrived One gesture may have arrived within the movement patterns that have been emerging from your body. One particular gesture feels satisfying. Yeah, this feels like ceremony. I don't know what it means. What means to know now, but it does feel like ceremony. Once you've found this gesture, you go back to the joy. That gesture of joy. And Kayla, let's skip to number 4. Moving from joy into ceremony. Come back to joy. Just go at your own pace. And you may find that the gestures may be transforming. Nice. Lovely. Bring this exploration or this journey or this questioning, this arrival to a close. Don't rush the close. Find a way to come to a place of stillness. And as you come to a place of stillness and start to let the gestures fall away a little bit, they're still with you. But we'll just return into this space where we are in this village, this Zoom village. And allow yourselves to just return. Come back to your screen, and Kayla, if we could fade the music down. And give yourself time as you walk back to your computer screen and sit aware of your feet on the earth and your bones on your chair and your breath. Yeah. Oh, below. Oh, below. OB means heart. Lo means go. Elo is the world, and Obu is the world. So the song that arrived after I did the research is Heart, Go, the world, the world. So welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Yeah, just take a moment. If you have water, please take water. So where are we, Suzanne? Are we way over time, or how long can we do the breakout groups?
We can still do the 25 minutes. You are perfect on time.
Oh, ancestors. Yay. That's so amazing. Okay. Okay, so let's, we're gonna break out into groups, and what I'd love to invite you to do is to share your experience in the exercise, as well as to even share your gestures. But your facilitators will have some prompts for you, but let this be your time to express and share what you discovered. See you on the other side.
Okay, folks, we're opening the breakout rooms now. You'll see a little counter in the top right corner that tells you how long you have left as a group. And Diane and Lopa's group will be in the main room and live streamed. See you all in 25.
Oh, dear friends, it's so lovely to see you. Berlia, I haven't seen you for years and years. I see you on Facebook all the time.
Yeah.
It's so lovely. And Gita and Alejandra, oh, my heart. I'm so happy when you messaged me and said you were coming, both of you. Welcome. So here we are. We have just sourced the gestures. I'm recapping because the part of the workshop with the music won't be part of the recording. So I'll recap a little bit of what we did. We were sourcing gestures of joy and sorrow, joy and ceremony from our ancestors, and waking up our what I call this body as a vessel for a potential arrival or encounter with an ancestor. So Lopa, can I turn it over to you to facilitate?
Yeah, hi everyone. So nice to see you, Geeta. Hello. Hi everybody. So I'm going to put, as Diane said, you're welcome to do your gesture and speak about or speak about your experience. I'm going to put a question into the chat box rather than ask you. I think we'll just let you read the question, and if you feel the impulse to respond to it, either with your gesture or with words, the floor is yours. Okay, so here's the first question. Let's see here. All right. Oh, How do I post it in this room? Am I posting in this room? I guess this is your everyone. Okay. Here we go. Do you see a question there, folks? Yeah, you can always have your video off if you don't want to be in the live stream. Great. So anyone, the floor is yours. Gesture or words.
I am completely reminded of my grandmother doing this. And I was very surprised at the fact that I completely went. I was not here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So for me, it was interesting when the gestures of joy and ceremony got mixed up and you know, became one in a way, you know, became one gesture. And I had ancestors competing for space at the start. I couldn't settle on one ancestor. So I just invited everybody to visit me as they wanted to.
Perfect. Beautiful. And where did you feel them in your body?
I felt them in my sternum. Actually, it was interesting when Diane talked about that. Yeah, I felt an impulse coming from right from the heart, right from the sternum. So and I've done this exercise with you before, Diane, the kissing mouth in the feet, which is a really subtle way of like if we, I found that exploring the subtlety gives me a lot of, opens up a lot of space for me. If I can explore the subtleties of that touch rather than tapping, if I can explore that, you know, subtle touch of the kissing mouths. When I was working with the gestures, I found that I was feeling the feet, I was feeling those kissing mouths, but they were in a way buoying me. They were holding me up, right?
Verlia, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I'm seeing you nodding your head.
Yes. I agree with Gita that my ancestors were competing for space. This is the first time I'm doing something like this, so I'm sitting with that. I think the music, Fellow Kuti, who I see as one of my ancestors, actually allowed me to chill and relax and engage in this process. But my grandfather's mother, who, you know, has been sort of like a secret in my family, has actually come out, and and I really needed that today for all kind of reasons. And so my back, I felt it in my back. I just needed to like move and get my back, and I just felt myself expanding, thinking about her and getting excited that she's here, like for whatever reason. So that's what I'm sitting with right now. Thank you.
Okay. I have another prompt for you, but does anyone else want to respond to that question or offer their gesture? You're welcome to it. Otherwise, I will move on to another question. Okay. Here's a second provocation, as Diane calls them, coming at you right now. And again, you can respond with words or with gesture. Or both.
I'm just going to read it just for the sake of the listening audience. What have I inherited? What are the legacies that carry me? And what makes sense to me now? Nadine, hello.
Hello, Nadine.
Hi.
Hi.
So this is my question. All right, this is my question. I was really excited to find out. I only found out about this workshop about 2 days ago. I was like, wow, what a swift kick in the tuchus, right? Because I'm an Arrivals
alumni.
I did a full 1 week version in Toronto in 2009, and it's taken me all this time. And I'm here from Haiti. I'm zooming in from Haiti, where I've been based since 2008, right? When I did the Arrivals in 2009, I was actually visiting Toronto from Haiti.
Right.
And so the question of legacy is obviously very strong, right? And I have learned so much about my family in the interim since coming back home. And I have an opportunity to learn more about my family that I was going to pass by. And you guys reminded me, oh, you're in the place where you can pick up the missing pieces, right? Because when I moved back to Haiti in 2008, I moved back to the second largest city in the country, Cap-Haïtien, which is the region that is the birthplace of the Haitian Revolution. All the major battles against the French took place mostly in and around Cap-Haïtien. And the decisive battle that decimated the French army happened on November 18th, 1803, and in Vertières, and I was living like 15 minutes away by foot.
Wow.
That's where I was for most of the time, for the most of the previous decade. But very recently, in 2019, I moved back to the capital, which is where I grew up in Port-au-Prince. And the capital in Haiti is like the capital of a lot of countries where most of the resources, most of the institutions, and most of the archives are centered, right? So if you live in the second largest town, the third largest city, if you need such and such document, you have to go to the capital, spend a week haranguing, overworked, underpaid, hot, sweaty, grumpy bureaucrats to get that original of your birth certificate, your mom's birth certificate, your parents' marriage certificate, all the things, right? And I'm here. I have 2 months ahead of me with no, major engagement. So I'm like, I should go to the archives and find as many of the documents I need to trace my genealogy, And so as anyone who's done the Arrivals process knows, ideally you choose an ancestor that is 3 generations back. At least that's what it was when I was doing it. And I cheated. I went only 2 generations back, and I went with my great grandmother, who was known by everyone under the honorific of Gun George, right? Gun for grandmother. And George, because oftentimes in Haiti, because we are still a very patriarchal country, you're addressed by the first name of your husband. She was married. Her partner was Georges Jean-Gilles, and so she was addressed as Gun George up until her passing. And she passed away the year I was born, actually. And so I didn't get to meet her by, a space of a few months, but when we're talking about legacy, I realized in 2016, I visited Brooklyn for a week, and I realized that I have I have a kind of a backwards experience for people of the Caribbean diaspora, because a lot of us of the Caribbean diaspora, especially those of us who were born in diaspora between the 60s and 80s, most of us have memories of traveling back to the motherland for summer vacation, right? And you'd spend your time in rural Haiti, you'd spend your time in rural Jamaica, you know, you'd swim in rivers, you'd play dominoes, you'd do all the summertime Caribbean kid stuff. And my summer times were spent Flatbush, Brooklyn, right? So that was my Caribbean summer was a totally urban experience. I mean, like of all the cities on the planet, it's like London, New York, Tokyo is the city, right? So it's like it was the opposite of the traditional, or quote unquote traditional, the typical, you know, Caribbean diasporic summertime experience. You know, your fond memories of being with your grandmother and your grandfather were always associated with a bucolic, you know, Caribbean tropical landscape. Mine was the subway, it was Prospect Park, it was, you know, the Brooklyn Public Library, right? But I still got a lot of Haiti from that because my grandmother was the penultimate storyteller, right? Mm-hmm. So she'd tell me stories of, you know, arguments with her siblings. She'd tell me stories of how amazing her mother was. She'd tell me stories of what it was like to live in Port-au-Prince as a young woman coming up. So I had this whole anchoring, nonetheless, in the Haiti experience, despite the fact that all of this was happening in a studio apartment off of Flatbush. You know?
And can I ask you about that? What makes sense to you now that you had this?
Wow, amazing question. Okay, what makes sense to you now? What makes sense to me now? I think the major chunk of that that I didn't know, it was, you know, it's like mother's milk, you don't know you're getting it. What I've learned mostly over the past decade, actually, because I couldn't understand it when I was a young woman, even in my teens and my 20s, whether I was living in Haiti or living abroad, I didn't understand that the Haitian sense of self is something that is very exceptional, that non-Haitians can most often than not cannot grasp.
So that is what makes sense to you now.
That's what makes sense. That is what I got from my grandmother. That is what I lived as a young Haitian woman. And when I look at the sedimentation from her stories, from my experiences, and from the interactions with other people now, and people's reactions to Haiti after the earthquake, Haiti politics now, and, you know, not understanding why Haitians never told the line, right? And it's because, you know, we have our own line. We always have, we always will be. You know, it's like, this is who we are, and not listening to other people is the very point of Haiti. You know, this is the story that came through my grandmother, and this is the story that I reconnected with my, when I did arrivals and connected to my great grandmother, right? Because my grandmother told me this story about my great grandmother's spiritual practice, which I brought into the arrivals workshop, right? And that explains this point about Haitians having their own mind. So
I remember that because I was in that workshop.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Haiti, especially at the time when my great grandmother was coming up, was almost completely a Catholic country at the time. There were no other, like there was no presence of Islam. There was no presence of Protestantism.
Nadine, I hate to interrupt, but we only have 9 minutes left. So I would love to hear from other folks as well, if that's okay. I would love to hear you, all of this. I've missed you. It's been a long time. But I hope that's okay. I'm gonna invite anyone else to join in. or to add, what have you inherited? What are the legacies that carry you? And what makes sense to you now? Just in this moment from this work that we've done. Does anyone have a thought or a gesture they'd like to share?
Yeah, may I come in? So just very briefly, the ancestor that took over is a historical figure, not my direct ancestor, but a historical figure that I've been working with in one of my projects for the past almost 3 years now and been living with. And I want to, if I may do the gestures, I think they sort of speak for themselves, right? So, so the gesture of joy, this bringing together, and the gesture of ceremony, the dispersing, the planting. And these were the legacies of this person, this historical figure who's a pioneer women's rights activist in Iran, and someone that I don't really have direct access to because I'm a refugee. I don't have direct access to the archives in Iran. My access to her legacy comes through, books and, scattered notes that I've found here and there. But there is really no archive of her in existence. So this gesture and this gesture of gathering is in the bone. It comes from that working with the bone, right? Working with, what is it that I've learned from her? And this is what makes sense to me right now, okay? What is it that that's been the legacy of her generation, which is two generations before me. Her legacy has been this, bringing people together and then planting these seeds, of which I'm a fruit or a tree.
Can I ask, when you do that gesture, where does it come from in your body?
It really, truly, it comes directly from here. Like it's that movement of going back and bringing together just really starts directly from the sternum, directly from here. And then when it goes out, also it goes out directly from here, right?
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Geeta.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to share their gesture or their sense of what makes sense to you now? What legacies do you carry with you? Otherwise, we have 5 minutes left, and I will put a third question into the prompt just to see what we might reveal or share. So I'll read the question, Diane, because that's a very good point about the recording. Who are my people? Whose ancestral line do I honor? Does honoring one line effectively dishonor another? You're nodding your head, Alejandra. If you want, you can unmute yourself and share.
Sure. I think the more we dig, the more we find out. Or we find out, we're going to find things that we don't like. So the alliance or the rapport or a longing for that ancestor, at least on my behalf, goes back and forth between I need you, I love you, I want to know you, I don't want to know anything about you because I don't like you at all. Very important to be able to address that, because within Latin American history, there have been really, nasty things happening. And I find it very interesting to come to terms with the fact that there might be people within my life that are not that nice. I don't know them, but they're definitely there somehow. And it's good. For me, it's good because, you know, we are who we're made of. And I can't be the political refugee all my life. I mean, there are some other aspects of me that need to be taken responsibility for. So.
Thank you for sharing that. For me, that's a very important aspect of this work, because it allows that possibility to negotiate with these different aspects of ourselves that's in our past, so we can move forward somehow. Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with also knowing at this moment how I feel linked to every single person in this planet as just a microorganism of this huge, but also knowing that historically within me there lies other microorganisms that might not have been as loving and as understanding or as conscious.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. We have a minute left. Would anyone else like to add? Yeah, Gita.
As a displanted and transplanted person, I don't have a direct line. And who's been living here for now out of my country for 30 some years. I don't have a direct access to that ancestor. And in fact, my ancestry has really expanded because now, like a plant that's taking in the nutrients from the soil that I'm planted in, I'm taking in, your ancestor is my ancestor. We're occupying this space, and Diane's ancestor is my ancestor, and Verlia's is mine, and Alejandra's, and all of your stories are my stories. So I don't really see that. I'm not saying this as a feel good kind of thing. It's not a throwaway when I say that really, truly, I feel that this ancestry is a shared ancestry, because we are creating now a community through the alliances and the solidarities. I know you all through different contexts, right? And we come from such vastly different cultures and backgrounds, but we find these spaces of alliance, including with Andrea Asaf and so many other people that are here. So yeah, that ancestry is a shared ancestry. That's how I feel.
That's a very beautiful way to end our group session together. Thank you very much, Gita. I think we're coming back.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, earlier, if you have anything that you'd like to share.
Yeah.
No pressure, but.
I'm just really, really grateful. You know, I have an altar, an ancestral altar, and, I said I'd never done this before. And today was a very interesting day where, sorry to bring it up, like the passing of Prince of England and the feelings that come up with that, and how this family, that legacy of that family has impacted so many of us globally, and actually really getting the opportunity to honor my ancestors and how they survived that family over the years. So that's what I'm sitting with. I'm really grateful being here today. Yeah.
Thank you, Verlia. It's interesting that you mentioned the funeral today, because I was speaking to my mom earlier, and she said, "Oh, I'm watching the funeral." And I said, "Oh, Dante Wright?" And she said, "Oh, no, I think that's next week." She told me who it was, and I said, "Okay." Right.
Exactly, right? And I think, and I'm sure that's many people's stories, right? And so, to be able to bring them, make them centered, make our ancestors centered on this very strange day, but very powerful day is wonderful. Grateful.
Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. It would be great if you're able, willing to turn your cameras on. I'd love to come back to the larger village. And we decided that we wouldn't do a report back, but if there's a word that might describe your experience that you'd like to share with the group, with the village, either put it into the chat or you can speak it. Just a word of where you are now, what you're feeling right now. Relieved, grateful, and feeling held. Thank you. Profound gratitude. Thank you. Hi, Rohit. Relieved, gratitude. Yeah, thank you. I thought we might go back. Vibrant, beautiful. More curious and excited. Thank you, Julia. It's so great to see you. So I want to go back to this first exercise we did. And there's something interesting in the waiting. When I stop leading, where do we start? Let it grow, let it die. Ah, somebody offered a gesture. Raising our faces to the ceiling, exposing our throats. And if you feel so moved to turn on your mic, oh, below, oh, below, oh, below, 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 below. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Oh, below, 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 below. Hello,
Oh, hello.
hello, hello.
Oh, below.
Below, 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 below.
Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Heart, go. World, world, world. Oh, below, 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 below. Hello, hello. Somebody steps into the middle of the circle and offers a gesture of joy, a gesture of ceremony.
Oh, below.
Below, 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 below. Elo, elo. Somebody else enters the middle of the circle and offers a gesture of joy or ceremony. Oh, below, 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 below. Obu, elo, obu, elo. One more person enters the circle and offers a gesture of joy or ceremony. Oh, below, 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 below. Hello, hello. We were a strong village. We would often gather in the evenings in our little boxes, in our box of circles, our circle of boxes. We would stand up with hands open, receiving the energies and life force of our ancestors and the ancestors that move through those little boxes, that are not bound by those little boxes. Yeah. When we sit down with hands closed, we stand up with hands open. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We sit down with hands closed. We slap our thighs and stamp our feet. And we would let this grow and let the rhythms of the earth play through the lover feet, little mouths dancing on little mouths. We would raise our faces through the roof, through the ceiling, through the roof, right up through the sky into the ancestral plane, exposing our throats to the village, and open our mouths where sounds might come out, a song, a series of songs, sounds, vibrating our bones. Oh, oh, below. Oh, below, 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 below.
Oh, bueno.
Halo. Oh, halo. We would return our faces to this village circle and gaze into the eyes of the little boxes, dissolving the boxes. Three or four people Usually they were the smartest, the most intelligent, the most beautiful people in the village, would step into the middle of the circle and offer their gesture of joy and ceremony. And it would happen just like that. Yes, like that. Oh, below, below, the bravest person in the village, below, would offer their gesture. Oh, boo, elo, boo, elo. Mm-hmm. Thank you all for this little dalliance, this little time together. It's been really, really, really beautiful, really lovely. It's always an experiment, I guess one would say, trying to do this online. And I really, really appreciate you coming in, and especially being part of the live stream, and just experimenting with how do we connect? How do our ancestors connect through this medium, and through ourselves? Like, how do we carry these stories forward? What are the legacies we carry? What are the legacies we choose or must leave behind? Yeah. Thank you again for a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful time.
Thank you, Diane and Lopa, for guiding us through this beautiful process. And I know it's just the tip of the iceberg, as they say, the beginning of a deep and profound journey that you lead artists on and community members on through the Arrivals Legacy process and project. I see lots of thanks in the chat, and encourage you to continue to show your love for Diane and Lopa as we are transitioning not to a close, but to the next phase of our program today. We're going to be, I have the great honor, in fact, of doing an interview next, which will be live streamed on HowlRound. And Diane and I will get to have a deeper conversation about Arrivals Legacy process and everything that we've experienced today. And in the meantime, we're going to tell you about some things that are coming up. We're going to take a 10-minute break. We're going to invite those folks who are in the Zoom room to gracefully exit the Zoom room and continue to tune in with us on HowlRound for the live streamed interview, which will be happening after our 10-minute break. We hope to stay in conversation, and we encourage you to, if you are watching or you're in the room, to share and let folks know that this interview is about to happen. And I think we have a few more closing slides before we take our break. Do we? I just want to say thanks to, of course, Pangea World Theater and HowlRound and all of our funders. We hope that you will stay connected with us and tune in next month. This is a monthly series. So we will be back in the third Saturday of every month in May. Next artist will be Dora Arriola. So we hope you'll come back and be in the Zoom room with us for that. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for coming and participating fully and bravely, as Diane said today. And thank you, Lopa, for co-facilitating. And we will be back in 10 minutes with a conversation about the process and directing and so much more with Diane Roberts. So we'll see you soon. We'll see you in a few minutes.
joy we feel is in our bones. And the joy we feel